There comes a stage in life when the noise around you becomes unbearable. Opinions become a cage. Expectations become a burden. Every conversation feels like a reminder of who you used to be, not who you're capable of becoming. The mind starts clawing for air. The soul begins craving silence. Not because isolation is glamorous, but because growth demands privacy. Real transformation happens away from the crowd, far from the eyes that judge, far from the voices that misunderstand. The ones who evolve the deepest are the ones who retreat with intention. They pull back not to hide, but to rebuild. They step away not out of fear, but out of respect for the person they are becoming. The world rarely understands withdrawal. People assume distance is weakness when in truth it is strategy. Stepping away from noise is the fastest way to understand your own voice. Stepping away from corruption is the only way to rediscover integrity. Stepping away from distraction is the only way to sharpen direction. Every person who has ever reached a higher version of themselves has vanished before rising, not to prove anything, but to create conditions that allow reinvention to take place. While others waste energy trying to maintain appearances, the wise conserve it to rebuild identity at its core. Reconstruction requires tearing down the old structure. Whether it's habits, friendships, routines, environments, or beliefs, the outdated scaffolding must be dismantled. This demolition phase feels brutal because the familiar falls apart, but destruction always precedes creation. The individual must let go of everything that contradicts the next chapter. The process is violent, not because life is cruel, but because attachment resists evolution. Once the old layers begin shedding, something powerful emerges underneath, a version of self that was buried beneath compromise. Silence becomes the greatest mentor during this period. Without external influence, the mind is forced to confront truth. Truth about habits, truth about desires, truth about limitations, truth about who has been holding back progress. The silence exposes everything that was conveniently ignored. It's uncomfortable at first because accountability doesn't whisper, it roars. It confronts every lie told to avoid responsibility. Yet through that confrontation comes clarity. Once the truth is acknowledged, strategy becomes obvious. The noise that once confused now holds no power. Isolation also strengthens emotional endurance. Solitude teaches a person how to stand without support, how to breathe through uncertainty, how to fight through inner storms without external reassurance. It forges independence at a psychological level. Once someone learns to rely only on their own conviction, they become dangerous in the best way. They no longer collapse when circumstances shift. They no longer break when criticized. They no longer seek validation to justify their path. Solitude builds an unshakable backbone. During this phase, discipline becomes sacred. Without structure, solitude decays into stagnation. But with structure, solitude becomes transformation. Routines sharpen intention. Habits strengthen identity. Accountability replaces excuse. Every day becomes a brick in the foundation of the new version being built. Discipline turns chaos into focus. It converts energy from scattered into lethal. Those who treat isolation as training rise far faster than those who treat it as escape. Momentum begins to form quietly. Skills sharpen. The mind steadies. The body strengthens. The spirit hardens. The shift is subtle at first, invisible to the world, but undeniable internally. Confidence returns, not the loud, insecure kind, but the quiet, grounded type that grows from evidence. Evidence from doing the work no one saw. Evidence from mastering the moments no one applauded. The person who was once unsure begins moving with precision. Each day adds a layer of power that cannot be faked. What others interpret as disappearance is actually preparation. While they judge from the outside, transformation operates on the inside. And as time passes, the transformation compounds. Patience deepens, focus tightens, self-respect amplifies. The individual realizes their standards have increased beyond recognition. They no longer tolerate half-effort. They no longer tolerate draining environments. They no longer tolerate distractions disguised as comfort. The old life no longer fits the redesigned identity. Eventually, the return happens naturally, not with noise, not with announcements, not with performance. The return is quiet but undeniable. Presence changes before appearance does. Energy shifts before results show. The world begins to notice something different. The posture, the tone, the decisiveness, the authority. The person who once left in confusion returns with clarity. Those who doubted begin to observe. Those who mocked begin to fear. Nothing is more intimidating than someone who vanished uncertain and returned unrecognizable. The real story is not about retreat. It's about what was built in the shadows. Greatness grows fastest in silence. Reinvention demands privacy. Identity strengthens without witnesses. The person who steps away to rebuild emerges with a depth others can't match. Not because they are lucky, but because they were willing to disappear long enough to construct a life worthy of reappearing. The return is not revenge. It is proof.